Before you sit down, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your life and felt that quiet discomfort inside, the one that doesn't hurt, but never fully leaves either? That feeling that appears when everything seems fine, when nothing is technically wrong, yet something inside you feels misplaced. That feeling followed me for many years, not because my life was bad, but because slowly it stopped feeling like mine. I once saw something that stayed with me more than I expected. It was a small video, just a group of penguins standing at the edge of the ice, hundreds of them, all waiting, all frozen, afraid to be the first to jump. And then one did, not because it was braver, not because it was stronger, but because it could no longer stand still. That moment felt uncomfortably familiar. My name is Eleanor. I am 77 years old. At this age, people often expect you to talk about sickness or time or how fast everything passes. But when I sit quietly and look back, those are not the things that occupy my mind. What stays with me are the moments when I almost disappeared from my own life without realizing it. The moments when I said yes when I meant no. The moments when I stayed silent because speaking felt uncomfortable. When I was young, life was explained to me as if it were a straight road, a single direction. You enter early, you keep walking, and you don't stop too often. You are told that if you follow the rules carefully, everything will work out. Happiness, they said, would arrive naturally one day, like a reward waiting patiently at the end. I believed that for a long time. I truly did. I believed that discipline would protect me, that stability would keep me safe, that wanting more was dangerous, maybe even selfish. So I tried very hard to become the person everyone expected me to be. Around me, people moved forward together, same rhythm, same goals, same conversations. They spoke about the future with certainty, as if doubt itself were a weakness. When someone hesitated, they were reminded of their age. When someone questioned the path, they were told not to complicate things. I learned early that fitting in was praised more than understanding yourself. In my 20s, expectations became heavier. Friends married. Families celebrated. Plans were spoken aloud with confidence. Everyone seemed to know exactly what they wanted. And when you are young, certainty looks like wisdom. I didn't want to be left behind. I didn't want to be the difficult one. So I followed. I dated the man everyone approved of. He was kind, responsible, dependable. He talked about our future as if it were already written, where we would live, how our days would look, what we would work toward. There was nothing cruel about him, nothing alarming, and that was precisely what made everything harder, because nothing was wrong. Yet at night, when everything went quiet, I felt a strange pressure in my chest. Not sadness, not fear, just emptiness, as if my life were happening close to me, but not with me. I would lie awake and wonder when excitement had turned into obligation, when living had become something to endure rather than feel. I remember one evening sitting alone and asking myself a question that frightened me more than any argument ever could. If this is how the rest of my life will look, can I accept it? I didn't answer right away, but my body did. My chest tightened, my breathing changed, and I understood something important. A life can look good from the outside and still feel wrong on the inside. The night I decided to stop was not dramatic. There were no raised voices, no tears falling to the floor. I simply reached a point where pretending felt heavier than fear. When I finally spoke, the room changed instantly. Silence arrived first, then confusion, then concern disguised as advice. They told me I was making life harder for no reason. They said loneliness would punish me. They said I would understand when I was older. What surprised me most was how afraid people were of being alone, yet how comfortable they were with living a life they never chose. I didn't argue. I didn't try to convince anyone. I had no perfect explanation. I only knew that if I continued, a part of me would quietly disappear forever. So I said no, not loudly, not proudly, just honestly. And with that small word, everything familiar collapsed. The night I decided to stop was not dramatic. There were no raised voices, no tears falling to the floor. I simply reached a point where pretending felt heavier than fear. When I finally spoke, the room changed instantly. Silence arrived first, then confusion, then concern disguised as advice. They told me I was making life harder for no reason. They said loneliness would punish me. They said I would understand when I was older. What surprised me most was how afraid people were of being alone, yet how comfortable they were with living a life they never chose. I didn't argue. I didn't try to convince anyone. I had no perfect explanation. I only knew that if I continued, a part of me would quietly disappear forever. So I said no, not loudly, not proudly, just honestly. And with that small word, everything familiar collapsed. After that decision, my world became smaller. Invitations slowed, conversations changed. Some people treated me carefully, as if I were fragile. Others drifted away without explanation. Loneliness didn't arrive suddenly. It came in layers: empty evenings, quiet weekends, long walks with no destination. There were days when doubt followed me everywhere. I questioned myself constantly. I wondered if courage was just stubbornness in disguise. I wondered if I had mistaken fear for freedom. But something else happened during those years, something I didn't expect. I became present. For the first time in my life, I was awake inside my own days. I wasn't rushing toward a future someone else had designed for me. Every decision, even the painful ones, belonged to me. That responsibility was frightening, but it was real, and real felt better than safe. I didn't dream of greatness. I didn't want admiration. I only wanted independence. I loved working with my hands, creating small things, repairing what others had given up on, taking time. While the world rushed forward, I felt calm moving slowly. So I rented a small place on a quiet street and opened a modest workshop. No ambition to grow fast, no plans to impress anyone, just honest work. People smiled politely when I told them. Some laughed softly. They said it wouldn't last, that it wasn't serious. At first they were almost right. Money was tight. Some days no one came in. I learned discipline. I learned patience. I learned how little a person truly needs. I learned what it means to stand behind your own choices without excuses. Slowly, people returned. They trusted my care. They appreciated consistency. My small shop became reliable, then stable. I paid my bills. I lived without debt. I controlled my time. For the first time in my life, I felt balanced, not impressive, not admired, just free. Years passed quietly. My life didn't become large, but it became steady. I woke up without dread. I worked without pretending. I slept without fear. And one day, something unexpected happened. People began to talk to me differently. Younger people came in tired, confused, unsure why their lives felt heavy despite doing everything right. They didn't ask for advice. They asked questions. Why does it feel wrong if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do? Why am I always exhausted? Why do I feel like I'm late to a life I'm already living? I never told them what to do. I only told them my story. Some listened politely and left. Others returned later with calmer eyes. That's when I understood something important. You don't change people by convincing them. You change them by living honestly. My life became quiet proof that another way existed, not easier, not better, just truer. Eventually, my hands grew slower, my body less reliable. I closed the workshop when the time felt right, not because it failed, but because its season ended. I didn't feel sadness when I locked the door for the last time. I felt completion. Now my days are simple, I wake up slowly. I drink my tea near the window. I watch the light move across the walls. I have no boss, no debts, no urgency to impress anyone. The world still rushes outside, but it no longer pulls me with it. When I look back, I don't think about what I achieved. I think about what I avoided becoming. I avoided bitterness. I avoided resentment. I avoided waking up angry at a life I never chose. They once told me I would regret walking alone. But here I am, 77 years old. Slower, yes. Older, yes. But peaceful. If there is one thing I want you to understand, it is this. Not everyone is meant to follow the crowd, and not everyone who walks alone is lost. Sometimes the bravest decision is the quiet one that no one applauds, the one that doesn't make sense to others, the one that only feels right to you. For a long time I thought courage was loud, that it looked like confidence, like certainty, but now I know better. Sometimes courage looks like that one penguin standing at the edge, heart racing, knowing the water is cold, and jumping anyway. Not because it knows what will happen next, but because staying still would mean disappearing. Listen carefully to the weight inside your chest. If something feels heavy, don't ignore it. That feeling is not weakness. It is truth asking for attention. I chose my road without knowing where it would lead. It led me here, to a life that finally felt like mine, and that was enough.